I'm going to go ahead and do a video on grief, loss, and all that goes along with that too. Um, as I thought about what I was going to make videos about in this TTC journey and all that goes along with it, I thought, well, grief, that's a big one. I'll do that later. Um, and I think that's what we do. So rather than that, and rather than pushing it further and procrastinating with it, I'll at least make a start for the grief segment. So um, it's something that, if I'm referring back to online communities and support, like I spoke briefly on the last video, um, I see a lot of women in relationships, typically with men, and their significant other, their spouse, their husbands. They feel like they're not able to communicate with them, or that they aren't hurting as much, or they're processing their feelings different. And they're all valid. Everyone's hurting in some kind of way. Everyone is going through it, whether it looks like it on the outside or not. They're feeling something. And I do feel like some people might hurt more than others. And that comes from a lot of psychological things that maybe are going to be in another video. But for now, we're all feeling these things. But when we're talking about women being able to reach out and go through the grieving process, it's important for you to have someone or something as an outlet to carry that out. Because if you don't, it's just probably the definition of misery. It's lonely. It's also got a lot of feelings that, from what I read and experience, of guilt or shame. It's not something that's commonly talked about amongst people. And then I think when it happens to you is when you realize how many other people it's happened to, but they just don't talk about it. Why? I think when things are difficult to talk about, that's when they don't. That's when you run into small talk or things that, to me, I'm just like, ugh. I cringe at, because I don't like small talk. I do like in-depth, emotionally driven conversations, without escalating or getting loud. Like, there's no reason to yell. I just want to have a conversation. And I want to be stimulated here when speaking to especially adults. I think it's important. So when these women don't have an outlet within their spouse, or maybe they don't have a best friend, or they feel like they can't talk about it because their surroundings don't give that opportunity. Fortunate for me, I have a partner that I can tell anything to, and I actually want to tell anything and everything to. When you don't have that, I'm going to give the advice that it's important that you find that outlet, whether it's a support group, online or in person. I live in a small town, so a miscarriage support group would probably not even be heard of around here. But online, that opens up a lot of doors. So I'm going to tell you about the things that helped me and are still helping me through this journey. I have a lot of thoughts every day, whether it's a good day or bad day. I'm constantly questioning things. I'm constantly wanting to learn more about certain things. And when I'm going through this process, even on those days where I go into what I refer to as my cave, there's still that inkling of hope, whether that's telling me it's going to be okay, or you will get pregnant, you will have a baby, and not to worry about all those things like, what if you do get pregnant again and you lose another baby? That inkling, that's still that small part, is left in my brain to say, crawl out of the cave. It's okay. One day at a time. So the things that have helped me to give me hope during that process are writing. I like physical, tangible things So if you give me the choice to have a Kindle or a book, I want the actual book. So I have a notebook. This is literally letters to the child that I lost. Um, so it's a sensitive subject for me still, but it's something that has helped me. And if you don't have something like this, or a person, or an online community, I think you should find it fast. Because there's no reason to stay in that cave. You can have your days, you can have your moments, just don't live there. Um, so I have letters, I have books. Um, we do have two children already. So there's an 11-year gap between the last one I had and now. So it's been a minute, but part of the grieving process was not just me. It wasn't just me and my partner. It was us and two children that are going through that loss of what would have been a sibling for them physically. Is she out there in the spiritual world? Yes. But physically, that they're feeling that as well. So I wanted to share some things that helped me and my family through this. First off, you have to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to understand that not everybody's feelings are going to be exactly what you felt. And some things that might affect you may not affect your other children or your mom or your dad or whoever. Um, but it doesn't mean they're not feeling it in their own way. So you have to have an open mind. Um, this book I got, I believe, shortly after. Sometimes when I go back in a timeline, it's either, oh, that's when I was pregnant, or that's before the loss or after the loss. That's kind of how my life is. And if you're talking about something that's from current day to after the loss, some of that is all a blur. I think that's just the way our brain makes it all work and keeps us alive, is that some of it just kind of turned to mush in the process. So I can't tell you when I got this book. However, Before You Were Born is a great story about a baby before it comes out and what all it is taught in the womb. And it's a story that's not specific to, it's definitely not a Christian organized religion type of story. Um, I'm going to have to post more about that book specifically. But it helped in having story time with our current children to be able to talk about it and them to reflect in that way that wasn't just so many adult feelings being thrown at them. Um, Another book that was amazing and um, spoke to us in a lot of ways because it literally looked like what we had envisioned the child that we lost to look like is called My Sibling Still. I'll post a link to that one as well. It helped to show the kids an understanding of that you acknowledge that they're feeling that loss as well. It's not just you, and it's not, oh, we're not going to talk about that, or we're talking about adult things. We as a couple are very open with our kids. They are not sheltered, only in the ways that we decide together that's too much for them. Violent crimes. There's really not a lot that we don't talk to them about. Um, but going back to you as a person who is watching this, rather than feeling alone and feeling like you're not really sure how you're going to go on with the rest of your life, let alone tomorrow, um, the journal. You don't have to be a good writer. You don't have to have all the right words. If you feel mad and you want to scream and you want to punch the pregnant lady next to you in the line at the grocery store, like, your feelings are valid. It's okay. you are normal in this grieving process. So it's all part of it. I will see memes on, maybe I see something on Pinterest or groups that I am a part of, and I'll print them out. I'll literally just save the picture to my phone and print it out and send it to Walgreens, print it out, go get it. And I put them in this notebook that I have with the letters to the daughter that we lost. Um, so it's almost like scrapbook style, but it's something that I can go to whenever the hell I want to. I can keep it in a drawer where it's just for me. No one else has looked at this at this point. They know what it is in my family, but no one else has looked at it. They understand the privacy and respect for that. So, again, the books that I mentioned in another video entitled Books, those are helpful. I think the most important thing to get across in this video is you're not alone, and it is going to be okay. I still don't know sometimes what that looks like, and that's where I get frustrated. If I can't see what's going to happen next week or tomorrow or a year from now, I have all those, well, I hope I have a baby, or I hope I'm pregnant by then, or all those scenarios now, because life is different after a loss. After we lost the baby, every aspect of my life changed. So this grieving process is not only that and going through that loss, it's also learning how to carry on. You know, that's something that you will always have. You can't rewind. You can't change it. Learning to accept it, that was really, really hard. That's the most important thing. You're not alone, and any other resources I can think of, or even down to books or tools or online whatevers, I will post them. But I wanted to at least get the conversation about grief started. Um, and if that's not okay with you right now, you can come back to this whenever you want.